applause, please, for coming here to Salisbury when they could be anywhere in the country, in the world right now. But they came back to support this mission, to support Happy Roots and Earth Day here in Salisbury. So thank you guys so much.
How's everybody doing? That's going to be kind of a hard act to follow, that musical performance, but we're here to talk about sustainable fashion and a little bit about what we do. So starting off, I want to introduce myself. I'm Andrew Burgess. I'm Andrew Burgess, born and raised Salisbury, North Carolina.
I'm Paige Seacrest. I'm from Florida, but now I live in Charlotte.
Yeah, and we are some sustainable designers. And, you know, we upcycle and take used materials and turn them into something new. But, you know, a lot of y'all might have heard the term sustainable fashion, but might not really know what that means. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So
I feel like in order to understand sustainable fashion, you have to know what is not sustainable fashion. So going into fast fashion is a lot of what we see today. You know, big chains like Shein and Zara, H&M, that sort of thing. Those are very not sustainable for the earth. Fast fashion actually emits 10% of carbon emissions, and that is more than shipping and flying combined, which is pretty crazy. So it's very bad for the environment.
And with those fast fashion brands, like she mentioned, Shein, Fashion Nova, Zara, it's more than just an environmental issue. There's humans behind these brands that are getting exploited because, I mean, especially us, like knowing what the work that goes into sewing. If you look at a t-shirt for $4 or something, like there's no way that you can be profitable and that every person in that, you know, that chain in production is getting paid fairly and like living wages. There's a lot of forced labor around the world, underpaid. Because the fashion industry, like the garment industry, is one of the most labor-intensive industries there is. So it's much more than just environmental. There's real humans behind this.
And talking about garment factories, like I don't know if anyone remembers that video of that garment factory literally just toppling down and like killed a bunch of people in there. And that's just what happens because a lot of these garment factories, they're against a bunch of labor laws, and it's just really dangerous place to work, and most of the workers who are being exploited are like young women ages like 18 to 24.
Yeah, and I mean, we could go on. We're not trying to be all doom and gloom about fast fashion. There is, you know, a lot of good things with the sustainable fashion and things that we as consumers can do as well to just do our part and hold ourselves accountable. Such as, I mean, the most obvious and apparent one is thrifting and shopping secondhand. Places like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Value Village, you know, it's just, we already have enough textiles in the world produced to literally supply, what was it, like, I think
it was 6 generations.
The next 6 generations of humans. Like, we don't need to make another t-shirt. If we just repurpose the textiles that are out there, we're good for, I mean, our great grandkids will be fine. So, I mean, as consumers, we just do our little bit of a part to, you know, maybe shop secondhand. Upcycling, that's what we do, where we take old clothes and just cut them up and give them some new life. I take blankets, like quilts, tapestry blankets, all types of things, and I'll make hoodies, jackets, pants. We're not saying everyone needs to start, you know, sewing and designing. There's a few other things you can do as consumers as well, which Paige wants to talk about.
Like, one thing is just to be mindful of what you buy. Like, don't buy a ton of clothes if you don't need them. Don't buy something if you know you're not going to like it in a year or so. Like, you want to get stuff that's well made and that you know is going to actually last you. Because, you know, with now, like, there's so many micro trends. People just buy clothes because it's so cheap and then just get rid of it. And that's why we have such a big textile waste problem, especially in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the U.S. alone, it was like 16.9 million tons of textiles go to waste every year, and that's just in the U.S. And like all these clothes that are going to waste, you know, we're not really dealing with it. We ship them off to like third world countries or places in Africa so they can, you know, either just, it'll just go in their rivers, they'll combust them or something and pollute their air, not our air. Like, you know, we'll pay them to take our waste.
And I mean, we know that like big corporations are the ones that need to make the most change, but really all we have control over is ourselves. So just being a more mindful consumer is a way you can make a positive impact, just yourself.
Right, like we said, I mean, us as consumers, we're really just at the mercy of these large corporations. I mean, and there are companies out there trying to make a real effort to be more sustainable and make better decisions with their business. But there's a lot out there as well that are very performative with it, and they'll do what's called greenwashing. So, they'll get they'll make their hang tags like the little brown cardboard that looks like it's recycled, and they'll say made with recycled materials, but in the fine print it might have 2% recycled materials and the rest is still all new.
And yeah, if you ever walk into a store like H&M and it says like their eco-conscious collection, it's just greenwashing. Like, they're not a sustainable company as a whole.
It is, and it's not, and I know a lot of people, I mean myself included, shopped past tense at H&M, but so it's not an attack on us, because I mean we're just, like I said, it's the big corporations, but there are companies out there trying to make a real change. For example, Puma, the global sportswear brand. I actually just signed like a long-term partnership with Puma where we're pushing sustainable initiatives, and they have me and a few other young voices, young consumers in different areas, to kind of listen in to their meetings and whatnot, and kind of give our input as consumers, as Gen Z, the next generation that's kind of moving up and taking the reins in the world over these next few decades, I guess. A lot of good things going on over there, and there's more companies like that as well that are doing their thing.
Last fall we had Samsung put on a recycled fashion show, so we actually made looks out of unconventional things like e-waste. So we took apart a bunch of computers and stuff and circuit boards and made fashion out of that, which was a little different. But there are companies out there with their own sustainable initiatives, but as a person, as a consumer, it's still best to do whatever you can, and a little change can make a difference, especially when we all come together.
Right, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're pushing: sustainable fashion. Go to a thrift shop if you haven't been. I'm sure we've all been to one, but let's do our part and try and make the world a little bit of a better place. Thank you, guys.